Welcome back everyone, back-to-back days, buff breakdown. Now if you saw yesterday's video, at the end of it, I speculated that Abigail could be a recipient of the buff today. Sadly not the case, because she could still use one, let's be real. But nonetheless, we got a buff regardless, and this is also deserved in my opinion. We got a buff to Queen of Sheba. I still don't know if it's supposed to be Sheba or Sheba. I've always said Sheba, it's probably wrong, but you know, deal with it. Anyway, yeah. Now here's the thing, they buffed her charisma here, okay? Which is cool, because again, I think she can use a buff for sure. And basic charismas in 2022, kinda lame and underwhelming, right? So it makes sense, I get it. But I really wanted to see a buff on her MP, first and foremost. So I have a bit of mixed feelings about this. But anyway, let's break down the buff first of all, right? So she used to have a very basic B- charisma. 2022... it's underwhelming. That's all there is to say about it. So what did they change? Well, first of all, cooldown remains the same at 5, but they did round up the attack to 20% for 3 turns, and she now has a self-battery of 30%. So yeah, it's back to one of these a bit more tame, a bit more quote-unquote lame buffs, where they just kind of slap on battery and fix some of the numbers. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's an upgrade. No questions about it. But she's even an arts-based caster who's kind of supposed to be okay with spamming her MP anyway, and which she kind of is. So a battery of all things to be added, I don't know. And as I just said, you know, they should have buffed the MP instead. I really think the MP should have been the buff. If anything, now it needs an even bigger buff, right? Just, I don't know, man. Or they could have made this like 20% AoE or something crazy. Maybe that's a bit too much. Yeah, it would be too much on 5 turn. But maybe a 10% AoE battery would be cool. She would have, because she already has a bit of team utility, right? Because she has, this is team wide as well for the red and blue buff. And the stars can be also spread around your team. This is the full-on selfish kill. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good skill now, for sure. Like a 30% battery and a 5-turn cooldown, definitely on the better side. And the 20% AoE attack buff for 3 turns, it's also a good uptime. Like, it's a good skill, definitely. But I don't think this is what she really needed to break out of that mediocrity, right? The MP, if you've ever used Sheba, and people, I remember when she was kind of new, people kept calling me crazy when I always said this. I still think her MP sucks. It doesn't do any damage. But then some people were like, oh, you are wrong, you never used her. Dude, I have used her. It does 0 damage. It doesn't do any. First of all, it doesn't even have any other normal effects, right? Like, that's kind of a crime. And then all of the debuffs happen after damage anyway. It's nice that there are 3 turns at least, because, you know, her MP is fairly spammable in a correct support, you know, setup. But the problem is, it just doesn't do damage, and she's supposed to be a single target DPS, right? So, yeah. So in my caster tier list, I had her at a B, basically, which almost, on hindsight, may be generous. I'm not sure if I'm willing to move her to B+ from this. It's tough. Maybe I'm still gonna keep her in B, honestly. This really won't change too much. It really won't. The attack buff is more or less the same, the cooldown is the same, the 30% battery, yeah, it's nice, but in a correct setup, she can kind of use her MP often anyway. She doesn't really need a 30% battery. If anything, it's a bit easier to use like a black rail with her now, but like even then, just the MP buff is what we need, okay? If she gets a really good MP buff, it's an easy A. It's like an easy A tier single target caster DPS, as is, like compared to someone like, let's say, Charlotte caster from Summer 6, even at MP1, she would probably just demolish her. Even if she had higher MP levels. And not to mention, she's also story locked. So it's not like you can get spooked by her anyway. So even MP levels can be hard to get if you want to fix it via that. So, yeah, I think I'll leave her still in B after this buff as well. Like, she's just ever so barely above average. But not much, honestly. She's still like a better Media, I would say. For DPSing, for sure. She's a better Media. But again, in 2022, being a better Media is like... that doesn't really say much, does it? We have so much crazy stuff nowadays. Even among 4 stars, so... yeah. that's about that, I suppose. So yeah, I do think the buff is deserved. It's definitely a character that could use one, but I still think the buff should have been on the MP instead. But now, if they ever do buff the MP, this buff, you know, by default also becomes a lot better. So right now, I would say this buff is just, you know, I'll give it a thumbs up. But if they ever buff the MP, then I'm gonna be like, yes, 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 this buff is so good now. So yeah, remains to be seen if they were ever, you know, touch her MP as well. And yeah, kind of still unfortunate that they didn't buff Abby today. She could use one as well. So Abby fans still have to, you know, deal with that, I guess. I'll just wrap this up there. Not too much to say about this. It's something, but it's not really gonna change too much. So there you go. If you enjoyed this buff breakdown, do me a solid and press the thumbs up button on this video. Definitely stay subscribed, because tomorrow, for you guys that enjoy the gacha, which I think a lot of you guys do, there will be rolls for Ibuki. And not just any rolls, it will be duo rolls. Yes, we back. Okay, so twice the rolls. Let's go. Hopefully a fun time. So stay tuned. And yeah, hope to see you in the next video. And a peace out.